your coding setup might be looking like this right now. You have a bunch of Claude codes, maybe Codex, bunch of tabs, no IDE. So right now in 2026, it feels like it's all about how many of these you can juggle at once and if you can keep them going. For a while, my personal max was about 3 or 4 of these in parallel. If you tried doing this for a full day and you know exactly how hard this can be. Um, so I actually ended up making a tool that helps me juggle not just 3 or 4, but like way more than that. It's called openrig. It's open source. It's actually a CLI for your coding agents. They can use this to basically connect to each other, and then they form multi-agent harnesses called rigs. When you first set up openrig, you'll immediately notice that your agents can now message each other. They can also control each other's terminals using the rig command. This lets them coordinate each other so you don't have to babysit them anymore. I mean, you do a little bit, but way less than normal. It also lets you combine Claude with Codex CLI. This is super powerful because Claude is an excellent architect, usually. Codex is very detail oriented. So together, they balance each other out. When openrig agents team up, they form topologies that look like this. This is the openrig UI. And I just have it sitting in a browser tab inside of CMux. It's a pretty nice setup. I have my terminal on the left with all my tabs, and then I have openrig open on the right, so I can view my topology. I can use these nodes. Each one of these is an agent, and I can use them to launch my CLI sessions. It works as a nice bird's eye view. So if I click on one of these, it'll take me to that session. So this is my front-end designer here. This is my orchestrator. It's designed to work with CMux or TMux to make managing all these terminals as easy as possible. I find openrig is especially useful for keeping single session agents running for very long periods of time. I especially do this with my orchestrators. I don't like to reset them because they have all the context of what's happening in the rig or the project. So it's common for me to have these running nonstop for weeks at a time. And the way that you're able to enable that is by having more than one orchestrator. So in this topology, I have 2 orchestrators. One's a Claude, one's a Codex. They form kind of like a high availability cluster. If one gets reset or compacted, the other one can just jump in and restore its mental model when it comes back, and they just keep going. It's important that your orchestrators never go down because they're the ones that keep all the other agents on task. If one of these gets stuck at a permissions prompt, the orchestrator can just click accept. Or if one of them does a bunch of work and then stops, even though it was supposed to keep going, the orchestrator can nudge it, tell it to keep going. This way you can have the entire rig working for pretty much indefinitely. It's really up to you how much work you give them. Also, having an orchestrator means I mostly just talk to one agent, the orchestrator, and then it handles the rest. So I usually like to talk directly to Claude because it has remote control and it has a great mobile app. Then I can continue managing the entire rig from anywhere. It's helpful to think about openrig as kind of like a Terraform for coding agents. When I think of it that way, it makes more sense to me. Any agent or rig can be defined in a single YAML file. Let me show you that here. So here's my spec library. I click on an agent. This is this agent's YAML file. It's basically just saying what skills, starting, files, subagents, hooks. You get the idea. These files define the agent's role in the topology. Because it's YAML, it's easy for an agent to create and edit these to make any kind of topology you can think of. Here's what the demo looks like. So think of openrig as the primitive for defining and launching multi-agent harnesses, or rigs. It aims to be a building block, like Docker or Terraform. In openrig, these specs, these YAML files, they just go into a folder. And this is a browser that lets you see that folder. And then you can launch them from here. You can also discover agents running on your machine that aren't part of openrig at all by going to the Discovery tab and clicking Scan. Then you can just select one of these agents and add them to a rig. The best way to use openrig is to just ask your agent to do everything. That's what I do 99% of the time. The CLI is designed specifically for agents, so it will just figure it out. I recommend using the UI like this, where as your topologies start to become very complex, like you just keep adding agents to do this, that, and the other, you might end up with 20, 30, maybe 40 agents, all of them actually running at the same time, doing a task here, a task there, some of them much busier than others. But having the topology bird's eye like this, where you click them and just open the terminal, it makes it pretty manageable. So that's how I recommend using it. Some important notes. So openrig is free, it's open source, it's still pretty raw, but it works. The UI isn't 100% functional, but the CLI works really good. So that's why I made it agent first for the agents. Since these are just regular Claude code and Codex agent sessions, you can just use your regular subscription. You don't need to pay the API cost. If you need help, I have a website with a bunch of documentation, a specification, and this is nice because you can just point your agent at this. Everything's in Markdown, so they should be able to read the entire website without burning up a bunch of tokens. That's pretty much it. So I'll be posting a lot more here on the openrig YouTube, and the links are in the description.